So on to our Bills preview for Week 14 versus the Ravens. Bills are hosting the 10-2 Ravens this week, coming off a very impressive win against the 49ers in another mud in a rainy game in Baltimore. But very impressive. I think 49ers are, probably the NFC's top team, if not top 2, top 3.
Yep.
But the Ravens got it done. So let's talk defensively, how the Bills can stop Lamar Jackson. Give me a couple of things you think the Bills can do.
The DNs and linebackers need to be on their games, especially on the read option that the Ravens run. One guy's always got to get quarterback. One guy's always got to get running back, especially hitting Lamar Jackson when he doesn't have the ball. When he pulls it, send a shot to him so he thinks twice about coming. The Ravens been running those 2 tight end looks, pistol offense with the option. And, as a quarterback, me and you have ran the option before, ran it in college a little bit too. You have 3 options usually. And it's just with the 2 tight ends that can both do like a little banana block. It actually amplifies Lamar Jackson's, pulling the ball more. And Mark Ingram is a threat up the middle. I mean, he's like a fullback with running back speed. He's very dense. We've obviously played it together. When you were a running back, what were some of the things that you hated the most what defense did when you ran the option?
Yeah, like you touched on, I mean, you got to get a hat to the football and the guy who is faking the option, who's not getting the football. So you got to get a hat on him and hit them every single play because they will hate to do it, after a while. And I think, this is what's so unique about this is that this is a college offense that isn't ran in the NFL. So like teams don't practice this every single week, and it is hard to stop because, like you said, there are multiple options. Lamar can take it, he can hand it off, he can pitch it. There's a lot of different variables, for a defense to look out for.
And then when you think you got it, he pops up and throws it to the tight end. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can use it as play action too. You set it up so much that you can, play action off of it. But I think the biggest thing about having a quarterback that can run, and especially using him in this option offense, is that that's another guy that allows you to have another blocker when running the football. If you have a mobile quarterback. Yeah. Rather than, handing off to Mark Ingram, let's say, and you're playing 10 offensive players versus 11 defensive players, you're adding in that 11th offensive player, Lamar Jackson, who has another blocker, an extra blocker in front of him, Mark Ingram, into your offense, which I think it's the biggest hurdle for defenses to, get past because usually they're not used to having that extra blocker that they have to worry about. And when you add in Lamar Jackson's speed, his elusiveness, his vision, I mean, the guy is literally an amazing running back. And then, like you said, you can pull it and throw it too.
He's an elite quarterback, Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, for sure. And, I mean, the one thing that the Bills can, kind of use to their advantage is it is coming up on Week 14. Your body in that offense, I mean, you're taking shots a lot. And your body kind of has to, you need some time to recover. Yeah, and, in order to defend against, like, a quarterback with Lamar's speed and his elusiveness and his decision-making, you need linebackers to flow. You need them to fly everywhere, to be able to run sideline to sideline, play in and play out. And, the one thing that I can full-heartedly trust is Matt Milano stepping up to the plate this week. An athletic quarterback against an athletic middle linebacker. That this is the type of offense a middle linebacker thrives on because he's just a ball hawk this week. He's just looking, and he comes down and he lays the lumber. He needs to step up this week. I mean, he's been stepping up, but this is his biggest game, I think, in my opinion, because he's going to be having to make plays, on his own sideline and then next play to the other sideline, and then be able to also come up on the middle on Mark Ingram, who's arguably having the best year of his career. And that's my biggest point about, the linebackers. Now that's from the linebacker standpoint. I know you played D-back, in high school and college. What is your take on, a triple option offense? What are some of the keys that as a DB and, defensive back they need to do?
I think the Bills are going to be in the nickel package a lot this week. because they run the spread offense, and that'll mean Teron Johnson's going to be on the field a lot. So specifically from a nickel cornerback perspective, he's got to be able to get off these blocks and be physical at the line of scrimmage. And, a lot of the times he's going to be the guy who's responsible for Lamar Jackson, along with, linebackers, depending on the play. But he's got to have a big game, tackling especially. Put coverage aside. Tackling Lamar Jackson is going to be huge. And then, you move it out to the outside with like Trey White and Levi Wallace. They're going to have to get off blocks as well. They're going to play a pivotal role in keeping the ball inside. Because if Lamar Jackson gets outside the cornerbacks, we're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even those backside players, backside corners, backside safeties, linebackers, they're going to have a big role too, just as far as angles and pursuit to the football. Because, Lamar Jackson, he's going to make big plays. It's just how much you can limit them. And a lot of times those strong side players are going to get washed down. They're going to be blocked. So it's going to be up to those weak side guys to make the big play and the big stop. So when you're watching the game this weekend, pay attention to that slot cornerback, Teron Johnson. I think he'll have a big game.
Yeah, and just to add on, I mean, Teron Johnson's going to be coming in for a linebacker. So if they run the ball, he's got to be able to come up and set the edge and be able to tackle Mark Ingram and all that. So
with Teron Johnson being in the game, that means they're going to be down one linebacker, most likely Lorenzo Alexander. So that means Teron Johnson's going to have to set the edge and fill on run plays when they're not running these options or when they're running it up the middle with Mark Ingram. So like I said, he's going to have to play a huge role in this game, and as well as the safeties, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. They can't be missing tackles against Lamar Jackson. So it'll be a whole group effort, honestly, what I think from the defense in order to stop Lamar Jackson, and that's just running the ball. Let's transition to talking about him passing the ball because he can do that too. Right now he has 2,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and only 5 picks. So that is a 5-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. He's taking care of the ball. He's moving it. The yardage I think is a little lower than probably what you would expect, but that's because these have been blowouts and they've been pulling him out of the fourth quarter in the majority of these games.
Yep. Yeah, and this is the craziest thing of all. I mean, we're comparing him to a GOAT, and it's his second year, or one of the GOATs. But Lamar Jackson has 977 yards rushing, right? But he only needs 63 yards to tie Mike Vick's record of 1,039 yards that he set back in 2006. And he's got 4 games left. I mean, the dude's on pace to get over 1,300 yards rushing, which is unreal.
Unfortunately, I think he could set that record this week, but we'll talk about it a little later on, our keys to the game. But yeah, the guy's a threat. He's a true dual threat quarterback, which brings us, talking about his passing. Looking at all their skill players, who are the biggest threats to the Bills defense this week?
This might be a little, different answer than people think, such a flashy kind of like offense with the running, but he loves his tight ends. Lamar Jackson loves tight ends. More specifically, Mark Andrews than Hayden Hurst, but he loves the play action pass and throw it to Mark Andrews. And it's almost a Brady-Gronk relationship with the seam routes, the routes across the field, the over routes. So that's going to be a big matchup, especially for Hyde and Poyer, and then, Teron Johnson or, any other outside linebackers, because that's going to be his main go-to guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, looking at his stats, he's got 53 catches for 693 yards, so close to 700 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So 7 of his 25 touchdowns are to Mark Andrews. So I totally agree. I think he's probably their biggest threat. Their next biggest, I'd probably say, is Marquise Hollywood Brown. He's a speed guy, definitely matchup problem, but he's been inconsistent this year. He's a rookie. I totally agree. I think the safeties are going to have their hands full with Mark Andrews, as well as Hayden Hurst. All right, I think we've talked enough about the Ravens. Let's transition to the Bills' offensive side of the ball and what they can do to win this game. Let's take it from the top. Number 1, I think Josh Allen, again, needs to have a clean game, no turnovers. He played awesome in Dallas. You got to keep it up. This is another big stage, big game. So offensively, the keys to the game, what can Josh Allen do to have a clean game yet effective and move the ball efficiently?
Kind of like last week, just throw it to the open guy. I mean, it sounds stupid or simple, but you just got to throw to the open guy. He's got to be aware of Marcus Peters because Peters is a very good quarterback, and he's really good at tricking quarterbacks through. And he's got a lot of interceptions through his short career so far. He's got to be smart with his running. He's got to know when to slide, especially with like guys like Earl Thomas, who come in and just are known for ripping the ball out, especially with Josh's fumble issues, and just have a game like last week. Just be relaxed. Hopefully the run game's a little established. But Baltimore's Ravens defense is only 22nd in sacks this year, so not really as big of a threat as some other teams that they've played this year. But the offensive line's gotta keep that level of protection up and just let Josh go out there and play. I think that's my biggest key for him to play a clean game and come out with a victory.
Moving on to our second point, this is another revenge game for a wide receiver. This time it's John Brown who's getting the call. Yeah. He was with the Ravens last year. They didn't love him. They didn't re-sign him. They didn't really use him that much, at least as much as the Bills are using him now. So do you expect another big game from John Brown?
Yeah, I think it's going to be – he's going to play pissed off like Cole Beasley is. I know John Brown's not as he's a little more humble and keeps himself. But I definitely think inside he's got that internal motivation. And I definitely think, just like I said last week where Cole Beasley's firing the team up, I definitely think John Brown, with his role, he's definitely getting the guys going, fired up. He wants to go out there and prove, hey, you guys didn't want me back. You let me walk. You guys made a mistake. So I definitely think it will be interesting. I want to see who guards him. So I think Marcus Peters is probably going to guard him when they go in man situations just because, the Bills don't really have like a true deep threat, and I think he's probably the closest. But I know you have like a different opinion on that though.
I could see Marcus Peters lining up against John Brown, but personally, I don't think that they necessarily think he's a big enough threat where they would, shadow somebody on him all game.
Yeah.
But they do have two great corners, Marcus Peters, like you talked about, but Marlon Humphrey too is maybe not an elite corner yet, but he is right on the bubble.
I totally agree with that.
You add Earl Thomas in the secondary. They got some ball hawks who can make big plays. So John Brown will definitely have his hands full with whoever's guarding against him. But which is why it's even more important for the Bills early on to establish the run with Devin Singletary, maybe even Frank Gore. But I love how Singletary's been playing. I just feel like he never is truly going down, and he always puts up a fight if he is. He's always screaming for a couple more yards, and I love that like little pit bull mentality that he's got going.
Yeah, I completely agree. He goes through the line like balls out, and a lot of times in that game against Dallas, kind of saw like Frank Gore stutter at the line, and he gets tackled for a loss, or he just doesn't go full out. But whenever I saw Singletary, it was like finds the hole right through, like really fast, and
he's got good vision.
He's got really good vision. I agree, and Bills Mafia, we need a big game from him. Trust me, we need a big game, and he needs to establish himself right off the bat, set the tone, and I think it will be all cylinders firing like last week. All right, now turning it over to the Bills defense. Trent, so what's one of your keys for the game in the Bills defense against the Ravens offense?
Yeah, I think they got to win the turnover battle. I would love to see a couple of interceptions. I know last week we hit the nail on the head with the strip sacks. Yeah. I would take a strip sack too, but I think getting pressure on the quarterback will lead to him maybe throwing an errant pass here and there, and winning the turnover battle. I know that's not necessarily defensively, but that secondary's got to step up and force some key turnovers.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah, so one of my keys is definitely try your best to hold Lamar Jackson under 50 yards rushing. I think that's kind of like a magic number where he's getting some success on scrambles, but he's not really establishing himself in the triple option.
So looking at 2 losses that the Ravens had this year against both Kansas City and the Browns, Lamar Jackson was held to, in Kansas City, he was held to 46 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, but he had no passing touchdowns and only 267 yards passing. And then flipping it over to the Cleveland game, Cleveland held him to 66 yards rushing, and he had 3 touchdowns passing, but 2 interceptions. So that sort of piggybacks off both of our points. Like, limit his rushing and also force a couple turnovers, and that's how you can win this game.
Yeah, I mean, those stats correlate to each other right there, then and there, because if he can't rush, then that's more time that he has to throw, and he's gonna force way more things because he's not like getting in his groove running. It's just the way things work. He's gonna be in the pocket more. The more times you throw, the more likely you're gonna throw an interception, regardless of how good or bad you are at throwing the ball. Not saying he's not good at throwing. I'm just saying the less he's running, the more he's throwing, the more opportunities for interceptions. Pretty sure. Simple for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, playing off that again, in the Kansas City game where they lost 33-28. He had a 51.1 completion percentage, and they threw the ball 43 times. So you can just tell, and he only ran the ball 8 times. And granted, that was week 3 of the season, so maybe they didn't necessarily have the game plans figured out or whatnot.
Yeah, the team ID.
Right, but I mean, you can still use that as a simple basic outline of how to beat him. Limit his rushing and make him pass the ball more.
Yeah, I think there's really not much tape on them losing, so you kind of got to go back to the first couple games and kind of test your luck with those theories. So
right, for sure. I mean, they've won 8 straight. So, and that sort of transitions to our last point, plays off our last point. Make him beat you from the pocket. Don't let him run out and create plays from a broken down scramble or whatever. But keep him in the pocket when he's passing the ball. Get pressure on him. Rough him up a little bit. And I think the Bills, could do all right.
I mean, Lamar Jackson can absolutely make a grown man look like a youth football player out there, which is scary to think. But if you have a spy on him, you at least have a chance to get him before he starts scrambling downfield. So if you can kind of designate Milano, or bring a safety down in the box like Hyde or Poyer, and just kind of have an eye on him, you might keep him in the pocket a little bit more. You might keep him from scrambling, and that might help a little bit. But he's just an elite player. You just gotta catch him in a bad game, or you just gotta play completely perfect with no mistakes. That's how you beat a player like that.
Honestly, that is. And
assignment football. That's what my coaches used to say. Play assignment. Don't try to do too much. Just do what your assignment is.
Your 111th.
Yeah,
I heard a lot too. All right, cool. I think that was a great in-depth analysis on both how to stop Lamar, how the Bills can stop him, and then how Josh Allen can get the offense involved. So when it comes down to it, we got to give predictions here. What are your predictions for this game?
If I'm thinking objectively, gotta go Ravens this weekend, 27-20. I mean, they're hitting on all cylinders. I know we're playing great, but I think their offense is just really good. Yeah, too much.
Yeah, I agree. If this game comes down to a shootout, I don't think the Bills can win it. But I think if the defense can step up, limit Lamar Jackson, like we talked about, I do think the Bills can win this, especially because they're at home. So I'm going to take the Bills 24-20, taking home the dub, going to 10-3. Man, that would feel good. Right?
I hope I'm wrong this week. I really hope I'm wrong.
You were wrong last week.
I picked Dallas last week too. So I guess if I keep picking against the Bills, they'll keep winning. So
that's true. Maybe that was a little luck, extra luck.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you watching. We got another video coming out. We're going to break down Week 13 recap and then preview some big games for Week 14. Thank you for watching this episode. Any last thoughts?
just appreciate you guys. First episode was last week. We're always going to get better. Leave your comments and make sure to share videos and stuff. And we'll just keep coming out with content and hope you guys like it.
Yeah. Well said. Great. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time.